Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Summers McKay.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Thursday, the 17th of December, 2020. Well, good morning, Kristy. How are you?
I'm well. And as I was saying before, I'm very excited about January's new Netflix listings.
Well, okay, so there's several things we're excited about. But first, I know that our listeners and our audience, I have received several messages from folks who wanted to find out how your husband is doing.
He is fine. He got his negative results back yesterday, and it was so nice to actually be able to hug him again. That was the best part. We're very happy. So huge relief. Very happy.
Good.
We went back to eating meals together. But thank goodness, it was a scare. And I just feel really, really bad for the world right now. I don't know. It keeps going on. And the numbers every day, I'm looking at a headline right now about shattering case numbers in the US. And, my sister and a childhood friend are both nurses in emergency rooms or ICUs. And it's just really awful. They're both in Los Angeles County.
Right.
We got to get this to knock these numbers down. And,
after a scare like that, it is a real resetting. I know for me, just the notion when last week we thought there was a chance that we had exposed my little one and my other two children, it shook us to the core. It really, even though I have a teeny tiny quarantine pod with just literally 4 other women that are good friends, even that we're just like, you know what, hang on, we'll see you in the new year. And I think that it's very difficult because I know that my teenager, my 16-year-old who's a sophomore in high school, had intended to do kind of a socially distant gift exchange with 3 of her friends from school. And then there was some discussion, since they'd all been quarantined, maybe they could do a sleepover. And as a mom, I am just really struggling with knowing that she desperately needs that social interaction, and Christmas break is here and the holiday break is here. And then at the same time, just, there are so many people who are wrestling with just intense emotions around this right now. And everybody give yourselves compassion and empathy, right? We talked about empathy on yesterday or the day before, and we will get through this. It's just a really hard time. And scares like both you and I have had definitely rock you to the core,
Yeah.
Grateful for the things that do make us happy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And now moving on to a less weighty topic, but perhaps a more salient one at the moment. What on Netflix can't you wait to watch in January?
Well, there's lots of good old movies, which is going to be great. But the one that I'm looking forward to is both you and I became addicts to earlier this pandemic was Cobra Kai, the season 3 of Cobra Kai. And that was a great family entertainment, especially if any of, as you and I both were, fans of the original Karate Kid back in the day.
Guys, this show is so bad good. I can't.
It's corny and it's lovable, and it's, it talks about family and emotional, and it's good.
I can't even remember the kid's name, like Johnny or Danny or what, but is he okay? And are we going to find out? And then where did the other kid go? And then I am delighted. And as I mentioned to you, because of my husband and my differences politically, this past year, decade, however long we've all been quarantined together, has been particularly challenging because anything you turn on has sort of political tones or undertones, and everything could sort of lead to a fight. Except Cobra Kai. There's nothing but joy that comes from this terribly good TV. So Cobra Kai it is. We're both pretty jazzed about it.
Crazy thing is this year that's like something to talk about. Oh, we have new shows on Netflix. And then Wonder Woman is coming to streaming in our home.
I know. That is going to be good.
Christmas.
Do we get to watch it on Christmas? That's exciting.
Yeah, I think Christmas is when it's streaming. They'll probably charge you like an arm and a leg.
Anyway, okay, so positive inspirational TV aside, there is this other positive inspirational thing that we both look at every day. And today was a pretty delightful day on the Optimist Daily. I got to say, I smiled ear to ear when I read almost every headline. So which one got you inspired?
Well, I, of course, had to talk about the head story today, the lead story. And the headline reads, "Every time a girl is born in this Indian village, 111 trees are planted." It's from the environment section, but it's also a social justice and gender and community building. I think it touches on all of those different categories. And this is a really, definitely an uplifting and heartwarming story and an optimistic solution story, I think. It's about the small village of Pipalantri in Rajasthan. I guess in 2006, the man who was the leader at that time had lost his daughter when she was very young. And he wanted to come up with some way that he could cherish the life of each girl born in the village. And village India is quite, girls are not seen as a joy. They are seen as a joy, but they're also seen as a burden because in traditional India, there's practice of dowry and girls take the money away from the family instead of bringing it in. It's controversial. Yeah. But started in 2006, what Shyam Sundar Paliwal, who was the leader of this village, Pipalantri in Rajasthan, he had the idea of creating an initiative in which every time a girl was born, to celebrate her birth, the village would plant 111 trees. And I'm sure 111 has some symbolic meaning. It has something to do with the deities for that village. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's a great number, 111. So they come together and they plant these trees, and then together, the community ensures that the trees grow well into adulthood. And one way they help protect the trees is they plant aloe vera plants around the trees, which act as natural pesticides and also predator control. I don't know if you've ever seen aloe, but it can be quite spiky. And so little animals will not be like running up to that tree, right? And then that in turn has led to a new source of income for the village as the villagers have started to process and sell the aloe vera. So it's become this community project which lifts everybody, and it supports girls and it supports their education as well. So Mr. Paliwal, who is the leader, he said that some 60 girls are born in the village each year. But in about half of the time, the parents were very reluctant to really accept that girl. And so she would be malnourished, underfed, uneducated. And so by doing this with the planting of the trees, in addition, they also collectively gather around $315, which is about 21,000 rupees, and combine that with a contribution of around 10,000 rupees from the family to create a deposit account for the girl. Mm-hmm. So each girl actually gets her own money in her name while she's growing up, and that probably will become part of her educational fund. It becomes part of her dowry. And as the trees are being planted, the parents sign an affidavit that says that their daughter will receive an education and not be married before she comes to the legal age of 18. And that is also a tremendous solution. As researchers have found, the best way to raise an economy out of poverty is to actually educate the girls and delay marriage. So these are really good solutions that also help cut down on carbon with the trees. It brings income into the village. Everything about this, it's
brilliant solution.
It boosts the natural biodiversity. Yeah. It helps to shift the cultural prejudices against girls. It's just, I love it.
I love everything that you have outlined as far as the benefits of the story. And it really is a beautiful lead story on the Optimist Daily. What I also think is really important for us to remember is those of us who are in the Western world, or those of us who are in communities where education of girls is something that's taken for granted. It helps us remember that we sit in a seat of privilege and that we have the opportunity to, really express gratitude for the life that we lead. The idea that my little girl wouldn't have been an unbelievable treasure the day she was born, or that I would have even taken a step back, is just so foreign, right? the antithesis of what we live on a daily basis here in the United States. And so what I love about this story is that it reminds us that not everybody sits in the same seat. Not everybody has the same perspective. And I think remembering that there's diversity of experience, diversity of perspective, and that the struggles of one community are not the struggles of another, and that we have to find solutions that are relevant for each community. And that's what I love about this, because it really illuminates a beautiful solution with holistic and complete elevation, and then also illuminates something that, you might not think about on a daily basis. So,
and the thing is that as these girls get more access to education, their whole families get lifted up.
Exactly.
Their brothers get lifted up. Anyway, it's not just about celebrating girls. It's celebrating the
whole community.
The human community. Yeah.
Exactly.
Of these villages.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we're talking about biodiversity.
Exactly.
And
well,
counterintuitive solutions.
When we were talking this morning, Kristy and I had kind of picked our two favorites, and surely enough, they were the same, which happens a lot for you and I. But the headline that I'm going to talk about is called Positive Destruction: How Elephants Are Rewilding a National Park. Basically, destruction can be a good thing, and a big old herd of elephants walking around knocking stuff over can be brilliant. This has been proven to be true in Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So basically, a herd of elephants from a neighboring land just marched on in and started tearing through trees, knocking down bushes along the way. There were already 120 elephants living in the park, but the combined energy of about 700 elephants have left a trail of natural destruction that actually conservationists were hoping for. What this destruction did is basically destroying invasive growth, giving room for the grazing animals and wild species such as buffaloes and warthogs to return to the park after a decade-long hiatus. These invasive plants, will be eaten by the other species who are brought back in because of the destruction in space that the elephants are creating, and will help transform the park back to a grassland savanna like it used to be. I love that this story I love the visual of these elephants marching around saying, "This is my land," and taking it back. But I think that it's also really important that we realize that some of the curation and management of some of these national parks actually reduced biodiversity. And sitting here at my desk, I have pictures of the safaris that I was able to take, and I have keepsakes from my travels. And I realize that just that culture of travel kind of shifted the natural biodiversity that existed in these environments. So the story kind of summarizes that although the efforts from the Virunga Rangers to bring peace to the area has given nature a chance to restore itself, the sudden appearance of this giant herd of elephants wasn't planned. And I love it that they came from a neighboring park and said, "Hey, we're on our way." Rewilding our planet and giving nature a bit of help and letting the elephants, in this case, take care of the rest was the quoted Global Wildlife Conservation CEO, Wes Seacrest. So we've talked a lot about the other story today, so I don't want to belabor it, but I do love this idea, and I love that these elephants are taking back their home.
Well, I do, and I think it just sort of goes to show you that these large animals actually are key to the biodiversity in these areas. I know that we've written about rewilding by introducing wolves and beavers into places in North America. But elephants, they provide a very important part of sort of the churning of the land and allowing other grazing animals and other flora and fauna to pop up. It reminds me a little bit of when we interviewed Nick Haddad about the butterflies. And there was this one rare species of butterfly. The only reason it survived was because there was an army artillery range that, because they were exploding grenades and exploding arms, there was little fires that were set. And it was those fires which were essential for creating the grasses that these particular species of butterfly needed for their larval stage. And it's the only place in the world that they survived because of the fires from the artillery range. And I just feel like that's when we try to preserve things and put them in boxes, we lose that diversity. We lose that positive destruction that happens. It's just part of the natural flow of life.
Right. We should have Nick Haddad show up back on the pod. We should.
Yeah. That was before the podcast.
I know. That was BP before podcast, AP before, anyway, BC before Corona. All right. Yeah. We have to roll, guys. Okay. So what else do we have on the Optimist Daily today?
Another one, there's this app that tracks your carbon footprint of your purchases in real time. I love that. Again, we have another story about how this year there's been a tremendous hatching of turtles. 90,000 turtles were born in a rare Brazilian hatching event.
Yay, turtles! I almost picked that one too.
Yeah. There's an article about if you're feeling stuck, there's a reflection series to break free from your stuck mental gel, whatever. There's a futuristic footbridge in Paris that is an ode to sustainable urban design, and it's beautiful and futuristic, and take a look at that. There's a biotech company that's using emissions to produce a substitute for palm oil, which is another positive boon for the environment to get away from palm oil. A filter that was designed for the International Space Station is now going to be providing clean drinking water on Earth. There is a new material, an upgraded material that can help store renewable energy for months at a time. And the largest wildlife bridge in America has just opened in San Antonio. Our readers love those wildlife bridges.
You know what? Our readers love them. And honestly, you and I love them, even though we feel like we're a bit redundant because we talk about them all the time. But hey, you know what? I think every time we tell a story about a wildlife bridge, somebody else, some other community is like, hey, us too.
Right.
It's perpetuating solutions. And that's what we do here at the Optimist Daily and on the Optimist Daily Update. So everybody, thank you for listening. We promise to continue to share positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to cover the current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
And please consider, if you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com. And for $5 a month, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of that solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free for everyone who needs it, supported by those of us who can. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody.